Good afternoon, everyone. We are all 49ers. I'm Grant Cohn. To my right is Maverick Pallack. Below him is Leo Luna. To his, right is left is Nick Newman. We're going to get right into it. We have 9 topics today. We're going to start with Jed York. If you missed it, at 3 o'clock, I reported that Jed bailed on the 49ers at halftime against the Dolphins. They were down 30-7. He'd seen enough. He got in his car. He stormed out. He drove the wrong way down a blocked off street. And the police officers had to tell him, dude, go the other way. So my question to you three is, are you surprised that Jed York did that? Are you disappointed that Jed York did that? Or is it really not a big deal, and would you have done the same thing in his situation? Maverick, why don't you start us off?
This is a hard thing to start off on, but I mean, if I was myself at that game and I was not a working person, I would definitely have left sooner than that fourth quarter, but I understand the problems with the owner still are leaving early. That's all I really have to say. It's a weird thing. Jed, I think, needs a better PR team just for himself, not just for the team, but I think he himself needs multiple people. Not that anyone's doing anything wrong, but just like it seems like he always is in the news for bad reasons, not good reasons.
Are you saying he needs a babysitter? Maybe he needs a babysitter. I don't know. A chaperone. Let's say he needs a chaperone. Okay, Leo.
Yeah, this is a terrible look. You just don't do that as the owner of an NFL franchise, no matter what the score is, no matter if your team is getting blown out. And we've been questioning the leadership of this team with guys like Staley gone, Sherman not in the building, and your owner does that. So it's just kind of going down and trickling down to everybody in that locker room. Now we have Kendrick Bourne tweeting out, if you hate me, I'm going to block you. And Quan basically echoing that, saying, oh, they loved us last year, they hate us this year. And so when you do that, it's a business. That's how everyone treats the NFL. It is a business. So after a game like that, you shake your players' hands, you pat them on the back, and then you have a meeting with the coaching staff to figure out what the hell happened on the field. You don't just take off. That is horrible, and that's a losing mentality. Oh, I didn't get my way, so I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, there are 15-year-olds that have more maturity than that. Nick, you're right.
That's my next point. I mean, yeah. I grew up in a family of season ticket holders, and when I lived through the Dennis Erickson years, the Mike Nolan years, the Mike Singletary years, and as a season ticket holder with my family, I would refuse to leave games early no matter how ugly the score was. It just didn't sit right with me. So as an owner, how are you going to leave your team? The coaches can't just choose to walk out. The players just can't choose to not finish the game. So what entitles you to being able, other than the fact that you're the owner of the team? It's just not a good look. It's not all for one. It's not that sort of mentality. And it's exactly what the problem is with the 49ers. It's just like everybody's in their own little world, in their own little bubble with different agendas. That's what the feeling is like, in my opinion, in Santa Clara. It's an awful look. Am I surprised by it? A little, yeah, because you think Jed York, I was listening to what you had to say about the situation, the article that you broke, Grant. Was handed this team 12 years ago. Over the course of 12 years, he's gone through various head coaches, had his rough patch with Jim Harbaugh. You'd think he would learn and mature by now. And the overall look of the ownership is not good, and it's trickling down. The trickle-down effect is getting all the way down to the players, just like how Leo's touched on with what Kendrick Bourne, Quan Alexander have been saying. And just the leadership with Mike McGlinchey, which we'll get into later, but it's an awful look.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I got tipped off on this yesterday. And when I didn't report it yet because I got to get 2 sources, and I got the second one today, and then I went with it. But when I heard it, I was like, that's Jed. That is the Jed I know. And everyone has sort of like built up this fantasy that he's grown up and matured because he hired Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. My attitude was, just wait. Just wait. Jed can't help himself. Jed's nature is to be a petulant, acting person who is much younger than he really is. Just wait for one bad loss, one bad game at home. So I'm not surprised at all. This is his nature. And what I don't like about it is, I mean, it'd be one thing if Eddie D did this, after having 5 Super Bowls and he had some coach and he's like, this is just disgusting. This is so beneath me. That's not beneath Jed York. What has Jed York ever accomplished in his life? Nothing. So when he walks away from a team, it's like, why are you separating yourself? That's you. That's an embodiment of you on the field. Own it. I mean, you have no accomplishments next year. The one thing he could point to is building that stadium in Santa Clara, but Harbaugh built that stadium. That's the house that Harbaugh built. They got the funding for that and the momentum based off of their 13-win season in 2011. If that didn't happen, there'd be no stadium in Santa Clara. By the way, that stadium stinks. It's the most mediocre stadium of the new ones built the last 10, 15 years. It's so generic. Jed can point to, hey, I got that built. Eddie never did. We make a lot of money. No. Harbaugh got it built. You lucked out getting Harbaugh. You messed it up. You lucked out getting Kyle. Are you going to mess it up now? A couple of months ago, I told you that there was strife in the organization between Jed and John Lynch. And John Lynch basically had to work hard to get an extension that was promised to him. And what I told you is that someone high-ranking in the Niners called John Lynch the Jesus freaking Christ of that organization because he's the buffer. He keeps Jed York away and prevents him from being Jed York. Well, you can only prevent the owner from being the owner so long. It's not like John Lynch is the chaperone in the owner's box, strapping him down to his seat and keeping him there. If Jed wants to leave and act terrible and put the Niners in a bad spot, that's on him. So I think let's get to the next question. So
Really quick, I was going to say, I saw a comment in there from a while ago saying, who cares? Well, if you're a fan of this team, you should absolutely care if your owner is walking out on the players. Because I'll tell you what, those players absolutely care of the type of owner they have. 100%.
Yep, absolutely. So we all agree that it's not only a bad look, but it's like a dereliction of duty. An owner, fans have more loyalty to the team than that. The owner should be loyal. It should all be having each other's backs. And like one of you said, if you got a problem, have a freaking meeting the next day. Don't just go home and like throw stuff at the wall and yell. I could do that. At least if you're going to do that, go live on YouTube so we can watch it because that's entertaining. All right. So we've agreed on what's happened and the implication. We know what happened last time Jed pulled this with Harbaugh. With the tweet at Thanksgiving, Harbaugh was gone a month later. And to me, what Jed did was disrespect Harbaugh, and I can only imagine what Jed said to him privately. And with Harbaugh, you can't ever come back from that. Harbaugh will hate you for the rest of his life and hold a grudge. I don't know if Kyle's like that. Maybe Kyle is less vengeful. I can't say. But do you think if Jed keeps being Jed, that he will eventually alienate Kyle the way he alienated Jim Harbaugh? No right answer here. Who knows? I'm curious to see what you guys think.
I can start off with this one. I think Kyle Shanahan's fairly egotistic, and he has that I'm always right mentality. And he's an alpha, and I could see Jed York and Kyle Shanahan butting heads, and how you touched on, Grant, having John Lynch as the buffer and kind of keeping them both in their corners like the referee in a boxing match that kind of sends everybody back to their corner, settle things down. That's John Lynch. And Kyle Shanahan has that mentality where very rarely does he do any wrong, has a hard time owning up to his own challenges and mistakes. And it almost seems like Jed York is that they're kind of the same person, just in different positions with different backgrounds as to how they got to where they are.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to be on the other side of this just for the conversation. I don't think, as far as Jed York, I feel like he's a little timid to lose another coach, like he did with Harbaugh, and he saw the implications of what happened after that. And who got their extension first, Lynch or Shanahan? Shanahan. So I think York holds Shanahan on a different spectrum. That's why when they won the NFC Championship, the first thing he did was hand the trophy over to Kyle. And I think he has a certain level of respect for Kyle just because of where he went through his past. He may be furious, but I think he's just afraid of the backlash and what can happen after losing a coach like Kyle Shanahan.
Real quick, before Maverick goes, what I would say is I agree with everything you said, but when Jed walked out at halftime, I got to question whether he still respects Kyle the way he did 9 months ago.
Of course, yeah,
Maverick,
absolutely.
Maverick.
For the Harbaugh situation, I think having Balky and Harbaugh on different sides, I think had a lot to do with it too. But
because Balky was in York's ear being like, "Yeah, you're right, he sucks."
Yeah, but I mean, if John Lynch really is the Lord and Savior. That I don't think that would happen with Shanahan and him. But I think if Jed does sour on Shanahan, how do you not how do you come back from that? I was shocked he was possibly coming back from the Harbaugh situation, but after giving Shanahan a big extension and Lynch an extension, if you move on from him within a year or two, you got to look yourself even deeper in the mirror. I know a lot of people think he's delusional about his success, but it's hard to justify that if you move on from your head coach after giving them an extension, an early extension at that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is here, because it, to me, is all up to Kyle. I feel like I have a very good feel for Jed. That Jed has, this is his nature. He's 40 years old. He's not going to change. This is how he's always going to be. And the only issue is whether Kyle can take it. Whether he is going to say, you know what, forget this, man. If you want to scapegoat me, fine, I'll go back to Atlanta. They'd love to have me. You think Atlanta wouldn't love to have Kyle Shanahan?
Yep.
I'm sure they would trade for him. I'm sure they would trade a first-round pick, take his contract, say thank you. So if Jed really feels like he wants to move on, I'm not the biggest Kyle Shanahan fan either. Fine, Jed. Who you got next? Who you going to call? Jim Harbaugh? Who are you going to call? You got no one. This is the best you can do. I mean, God forbid you said something you can't take back this week. God forbid. I mean, who knows? If he left at halftime, he might have called up Kyle after the game and said some unforgivable stuff. For Niner fans' sake, I hope he didn't. And maybe Kyle's the kind of guy who has a little bit more patience than Jim, but maybe he's not. Kyle has a very big ego. And if Jed starts pulling this stuff that he thinks Kyle's beneath him, or that Kyle isn't living up to Jed's standards, he could just say, you know what? Trade me to Atlanta. Fire me right now, because 25 organizations would love to have me as their head coach. Jed needs to be very careful here, guys.
Yeah, I absolutely
He needs to be very
agree.
careful, because look, the Niners are a terrible organization. It's his fault. He sets the tone. If they could get rid of him and bring in someone else, bring in Eddie, they'd be great. They would be great. But they have a very tenuous situation, and if they get rid of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, who bring them to a B+ level, they could be right down at the Chip Kelly level once again. So be careful, Jed. We're watching you. No one thinks that you've turned a corner anymore. You're you. Now we're the chaperone. What's up?
Celebrity death match. Tip. You got tipped on that. Celebrity death match. Grant Cohn versus Jed York.
Oh man, I think I can handle that one. All right.
We'll leave it at that.
Grant, how tall are you?
I'm 6 feet.
Okay. 4'5".
Yeah. I'm 6 feet and a half inch. I'm giving myself that half inch. All right, let's get into leadership. Clearly, there is a leadership void in Santa Clara that starts at the tippy top with Jed. But I want to start with the locker room. Who are the leaders on this team? Every team has leaders, and the Niners have leaders too. We can debate the effectiveness that they are, but who are the leaders of this team? Because they have to have some, right?
I'd say George Kittle and Fred Warner are good leaders. I know it's preferable to have some leaders in their upper 20s and lower 30s, but I think they have a lot of young leaders. I think Jaquiski Tartt is a guy in the secondary that's coming on strong, and this is going to touch on a later question, I think, but there's some concerns with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think the way the guys rally around him in the media and everything, I think that shows that he's likable. He might not be the rah-rah leader that Tom Brady or Drew Brees is, but I think he has the capability, when he has the confidence, to be that lower level leader that a team needs.
Hold your horses. We're going to get to Jimmy. That's a good answer. All right, Leo.
So I'm going to say George Kittle on the offensive side, because he's probably the one guy on there we haven't heard make any excuses.
Exactly.
And then on the defense, Fred Warner is another guy who hasn't made any excuses, just saying we need to get better. And same with Tartt. Kyle Juszczyk in a KMBR interview said that Tartt was in the locker room and told him in the trainings room, hey, this is the week we're going to turn things around. We're going to win this one, and we're going to get right back on track. So I think that speaks volumes for Tartt saying that to another veteran looked at leader with Kyle Juszczyk on that team. So it's probably those four players as of right now.
I'm going to kind of steer this a different direction. Just look at the guys that wear the captain's stitch on their chest. You got Jimmy Garoppolo, who I question his true ability to be a true leader. Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey, who have both made a handful of excuses in their media press conferences over the last couple of weeks. George Kittle is the leader of the team. Just like how Leo said, he hasn't made any excuses yet. He was on a CBS show and said, our offense is fully healthy. We had our ideal starting lineup on the field against the Dolphins. We're out of excuses on the offensive side of the ball. And then Richard Sherman, who him not being on the field has hurt this team because I feel like he is the alpha in the locker room. He's the guy that holds everybody accountable, especially on that side of the ball. And then Fred Warner and his inexperience being in his third year, I feel like he doesn't have that same comfort to be able to get in guys' faces and hold them accountable, guys who have been in the league longer than him. It's tough being in your third year and being a team captain. I think Mike McGlinchey's having that same struggle. He's struggling for one. It's only his third season. And now he has Trent Williams to look up to, who I'm sure is completely different than Joe Staley in a lot of different dimensions in the locker room. So there's a huge leadership void. It's nice to hear Jaquiski Tartt is stepping up because he's really been holding down that secondary group. But as far as the guys that were actually voted on as captains by their teammates, it's a huge concern to me, a huge concern. And I'd say Richard Sherman and George Kittle are the two guys that are truly, truly deserving of it because of who they are in the locker room and not so much their play on the field.
Okay. Agree with you guys. I'm going two names, and we Maverick identified right off the bat. It's Kittle and Warner. Here's the thing. I mean, like, McGlinchey has like a leader's voice. He talks like a leader. Mm-hmm. But he's not good enough to be a leader. To actually lead, you have to be one of the best players of your position. So the only people on this team, well, two people who on this team who are qualified to lead are George Kittle and Fred Warner, and I think they're doing as well as they can for young guys. Kittle hasn't made any excuses. He's talked about how he just doesn't have the experience to really. He's never been in this situation before, so he's learning. So those two, I'm going to name two guys who are not leaders. One, Eric Armstead, not a leader, which is too bad because DeForest Buckner really was. I felt like Buckner was one of the people who established a culture on this team, not Armstead. Armstead's a good player, but not a leader. And then two, Trent Williams. I mean, this guy was replacing the ultimate leader on the 49ers, and we all assumed that he would be such an upgrade. But now that we see that he's not, I think it's interesting to go back and do hindsight and realize, well, look, I mean, here's a guy who sat out an entire year. I mean, he may have had a reason. It might have been the right call, but that's not what leaders do. I mean, by definition, unless you're leading everyone to sit out for a year. He was out. So he's on his own. That's just how, and that's fine. But you can't ask that or expect that guy to be a leader. Plus, he's never been on a good team, really. So those two guys just don't have it in them. And I really respect and admire that Kittle and Warner are stepping up because they're younger than those guys. I mean, Trent Williams should be the leader on this team and has no interest. None.
I have an interesting question for you guys. So a lot of the guys we were saying that were leaders, how many of them are actually like tied to the team past 2021? We were talking about Fred Warner, and then Richard Sherman was mentioned, Jaquiski Tartt was mentioned, and then guys that Grant was pointing on that weren't leaders, like Eric Armstead and then Mike McGlinchey, that they could be on the team for longer than that. So I just think that's an interesting thing that they have so many guys that are pegged as leaders but need those contracts. So that they got to figure out cap flexibility soon to get that Warner contract, which is probably going to be pretty hefty. If they're going to move on from Tartt, that might be a big blow, pegging Jimmy Ward as that new secondary guy.
Yeah, it's good to hear that Tartt's stepping up as a leader because Jimmy Ward ate one. Sorry, Jimmy. Is Jimmy Garoppolo a leader?
I'll take this one on first. When things are going well, Jimmy Garoppolo is Mr. Feels Great, baby. That's who he is when things are going well. And the majority of his 49er tenure has all been positive. Just look at the win-loss record. But when things are not going well or accordingly, he really struggles to rally his troops. You don't see that same passion and fire, that demanding excellence from your teammates that Tom Brady has. And it's kind of puzzling to me that he didn't pick up on that after sitting behind Tom Brady for 3.5 seasons. So when everything's going great. He's playing with confidence. He's rallying his teammates. His teammates are feeding off that swagger that he's playing with. But when things are not going well, he goes into a shell. And you can't have that from your franchise quarterback. Your franchise quarterback needs to be someone that has the ability to rally the team around him no matter the circumstance. So, yes, he's liked in the locker room, but just because you're liked doesn't mean that you're a leader. That's why there's a bazillion there's so many celebrities in the world that are famous, but just because you're liked and you're respected and you're popular doesn't mean you can lead people.
Good answer.
Damn.
Leo. Yeah,
I love that.
That was good.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just let that breathe for a second. Let's just let that breathe and sit with that. Yeah, that was good. Okay.
What he said was completely spot on. When things are high, they're freaking 8-0. Feels great, baby. Doesn't it feel great? Yeah. And then once things are going downhill, it just really disappointed me to see him not fight to stay in that game. It was just, okay, you're right, Kyle. I'll hang out. I'll put on my headset. I'll grab the clipboard.
Hey, can you imagine Steve Young taking it like that? Okay, all right, you say so. Let's let Elvis Gerback go in. Fine.
Yeah, Tony Romo in that same stadium beat the 49ers in overtime with broken ribs.
I was there.
Broken ribs.
Yep.
Not a high ankle sprain, broken ribs. Right. So there's no excuse of why he didn't fight to stay in that game. No matter what the score was, he's a guy that starts off slow. When he gets some rest, he starts off slow. He's an in-rhythm player. He needs to play 4 quarters and then 4 quarters again next week. And not doing that after you just played terrible, 15 QBR, quarterback rating was at 15. He needed to stay in that game. And I think that's where it just disappoints me the most. And if I was on that team, I'm someone who's played organized sports since I was 4 years old. That's not my leader. He just exited the game on us. I know we're losing, but hey, it's 23 points. You go ahead and score 17 in this third quarter. We're right back in it. But they didn't see it the same way.
I agree with both of you 100%. I'm not denying any of that. I just wonder how much Jimmy Garoppolo is allowed to be a leader in this team. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan it's just a big question of when he's not doing right. Kyle's has the quick hook, but I do agree he should have fought to stay in that game at least until the fourth quarter when it's truly over. But I'm not denying any of that. I 100% agree.
I think this is a tough answer because in 2017, I think he showed leadership qualities. I mean, the way that he took a 1-10 team and made them believe that they could win and won with them was kind of extraordinary. And I think that's a big reason why he got the contract he did. But now, 3 years later, what we've seen from him is that A, he doesn't play enough to be a leader. Your leader can't be in and out of the lineup, can't be constantly hurt. And then B, he's not good enough to be a leader. He's not playing with enough confidence. His play isn't efficient enough, whatever the word you want to call it, want to use, for him to lead right now. I mean, he's kind of fighting for his place in the franchise. Everyone's saying, is he even going to be on the team next year? Could they trade him at the deadline? Are they flirting with Kirk Cousins? Those kind of things. So no, I mean, he's not in a position to lead right now, even if he has leadership traits, because not good enough, not durable enough. That could, if he leads the Niners to a big time win on Sunday Night Football against the Rams, that could change. But on Friday, what we stand right now, no, I believe he's not.
Yep, I agree with you, Grant. I feel like he's auditioning for his role with the team beyond this season. This difficult stretch that the team is facing, he can really solidify himself as the quarterback the team should move on to. But if he goes into a shell like we've seen from him, and Kyle Shanahan saying that if he has no problem benching Jimmy Garoppolo if his injury is re-aggravated or if he's just struggling, that's what struck me, that Kyle Shanahan said he'll bench Garoppolo again if he's struggling. That's very telling. Yeah. And it's just like, if Garoppolo was a true leader, Bonta Hill pointed this out on 95.7 The Game, that he would have not let Kyle Shanahan pull him out. He being Jimmy Garoppolo, he should have refused to be pulled because he was fine playing on his ankle the first half. It might have affected his play, but he could have finished out that game. And I get where Kyle Shanahan was coming from, but as a true leader, could you imagine Tom Brady getting pulled from a game or just any of the other quarterbacks that are solidified franchise quarterbacks? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Quick bonus question. Leo, is it your turn? Did I cut you off?
No, you didn't cut me off. I was going to add. Let me add something before your bonus question.
Sure.
Steve Young in '94 against the Eagles. Remember when he was forced out of the game?
Yes.
What did he do? He flipped out.
Yeah.
Flipped out.
I remember watching that game live. I must have been 7, and I remember just catching. I was out with my parents somewhere. The TV was on. They were losing by a lot, and I was like, "What's going on? The Niners don't do that." And I remember watching Steve Young, my favorite player, just rip in to Seifert. The way I remember it was he's standing behind Seifert. He's yelling at him, and Seifert doesn't flinch. He just keeps staring forward, and it was kind of iconic. And I always felt like that's what a quarterback's supposed to do. You're not supposed to just be like, "Hey, you're right. I'm done for the day."
Was that not the turning point of the season?
They might not have lost another game for months after that. It was a long time ago. It was 25 years ago. But all right, no, I have a quick bonus question. Theoretically, if Jimmy Garoppolo crashes and burns on Sunday night and plays the way he's played pretty much all year, except for the game against the Jets, the trade deadline is November 3rd. The Niners have made trade deadline deals. They got Sanders last year. They got Garoppolo a couple of years ago. They make big deals. If he continues to crash and burn, do you think there's any scenario where the Niners trade him at the deadline? And if so, who do you think they might go after? I mean, Kirk Cousins is on a terrible team that might not want him anymore. Matt Ryan's on a terrible team that might not want him anymore. Desean Watson is on a terrible team that has gutted their roster. Do you think the Niners have something up their sleeve in the next couple of weeks if things go real sideways? I know I asked this question yesterday, Maverick, but I'm asking it again.
Well, I would just say quarterbacks don't usually get traded mid-season, and I think it's hard to imagine the Vikings swapping Kirk Cousins for Garoppolo mid-season, maybe after the season type of deal. But for the next couple of weeks, I think it's safe to say it's going to be Garoppolo as the guy unless he gets another injury.
I just not at all, because even though Shanahan may be frustrated, this is John Lynch's steal, right? He got him for only a second-round pick. So he's going to try to squeeze any little juice out of Jimmy Garoppolo before he finally throws those shoes onto the telephone wire and call it a day. And then getting a guy like Cousins or Matt Ryan, I just don't see how it works with the contract. Those guys are making, at least Matt Ryan next year is going to be making $40 million a year. Kirk Cousins is at about $45 million a year compared to Jimmy, who's at 27. So you're almost saving nearly 20,000, 15,000, or excuse me, 20 million, 15 million per year. It just doesn't work out. But yeah, this is John Lynch's decision. And this is where if they do have friction, this is where it's going to come from.
That's a good point.
If Garoppolo is traded because he looks like the Garoppolo we saw week 1 and then last week against the Dolphins, he's going to have his trade value is going to be diminished. Like, what are you going to get in return from him? I just don't see enough return coming to make it worth your while to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. As far as adding another quarterback mid-season, I don't see it happening. I think the 49ers are going to use this difficult stretch coming up where they play the Rams, the Patriots, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Rams again, Bills, as a test to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, without having an elite defense, can he lead this team to success? I'm trying to read the comments.
Hey, yo.
Thanks, I appreciate you. Keep going.
That's pretty much it. I don't think they're going to trade Garoppolo midseason. I don't think they're going to acquire Garoppolo, another quarterback midseason. They're going to use this as a trial and error period to see, is this the quarterback they want to move forward with? Because now he doesn't have that elite defense to fall back on.
Guys, if Jimmy Garoppolo plays on Sunday the way he played against the Dolphins and gets benched at halftime because he can't take hits, I don't think we're going to see a full season of him, man. I mean, if he can't show something before the trade deadline, the Niners have been very aggressive in the past. And the way I would guess that this could go down, I'm not sure that they can necessarily pull something off. But if Jimmy Garoppolo crashes and burns on Sunday, I would imagine that both Kyle and John will get on the phone and see what they can do. Again, I don't know if they can pull something off, but for me, Kyle is going to be on the phone with the Vikings so fast. He's going to see if he can get Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins before November 3rd. I'm guessing. I don't think John Lynch would be interested in either one. I think that they would be working in separate tracks to see who can pull off something first. John, as you guys pointed out, is wedded to Jimmy. He brought in Jimmy. And the only way that he can move off from Jimmy is if he kind of trades him in a pick for someone better. And I don't, from Lynch's perspective, it ain't Cousins. It may not even be Ryan. How old is Matt Ryan?
36.
36. Okay. So from Lynch's perspective, maybe there's someone else he could get. And I mentioned him earlier. Desean Watson. The Niners passed on him once. The Texans are going nowhere. They have no head coach. They have traded everyone. And they may feel like maybe they should go with a complete rebuild. Now, they did give Desean Watson a lot of money, but that was Bill O'Brien. He's gone. Is there any way the Niners could pull off a shocking trade for Desean Watson in the next 2 weeks?
I would say no, just because Bill O'Brien.
No. Okay, let's go on. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
They don't have a GM right now, so it's hard to.
How you make that move, right?
Yeah, and the Texans need a new head coach next year, and Desean Watson's the reason why someone would want to go be a head coach there. Mm-hmm. They don't have first-round picks. They would need at least 2 first-round picks, I would say, to even be interested in trading Watson. Otherwise, what head coach would ever want to go there?
What if the 49ers were to trade him Jimmy G and their first-round pick?
They would.
Is that enough?
One more.
Okay, Jimmy G and their next 2 first-round picks for Desean Watson.
Woo! How old is Desean Watson? 25, 26?
25?
So,
and again, real quick, go ahead, Leo. Go ahead.
So, SI Texans Daily, Mike Fisher actually said this, that they're with the interview with the owner said the part of the reason why they traded DeAndre Hopkins was because they had to pay Desean Watson as well as their franchise left tackle, which I don't think he is, Laramie Tunsil. So if that was the reason why you got off the best wide receiver in the NFL, then there's no way you're going to turn around and just trade Desean Watson.
Hey, let me just play devil's advocate because I want to.
Go ahead.
You guys are right. You guys are bringing up all the good points. So let me try my best. You're right. It doesn't seem to make sense. But again, they just locked up this dude for like $40 million a year, and they're 1-4. So whatever plan they thought they had for the future doesn't work. The coach just got fired. So they're locked into Laramie Tunsil and Desean Watson. What does that guarantee him? What's the hope for the future? To me, if you're that bad and you got a good quarterback who's not winning, it's not going to be easy to build a supporting cast around him, paying him $40 million a year. What you can do is trade him for as many draft picks as you can and draft one of these kids coming out. Trey Lance, give yourself another window, a cheap quarterback that you have under team control for 4 years, and let someone else pay $40 million a year for a quarterback.
Yeah. I'll say this. Before trading Jimmy, I think what they would do if he struggles again is bring up the ankle and put him on a 3-week IR.
Interesting. That's an interesting thing. Before we move on, Desean, and we will in a second, all I would say is if I were the owner of a team paying a quarterback $42 million a year and we were 1-4, I don't care. I don't care how good he is. I'm thinking, how do we build a winner around this guy? How?
Yeah.
How? What is the plan for the future? You said they don't have a first-round pick next year?
No.
You said they don't have a first. So what do they do?
For the next 2 years, I don't think.
What do they do? They need picks. That's the thing.
So what would you say?
Picks.
It's about a 5-year window.
Multiple picks. What's that?
Until they're good again. If they keep Desean, 5 years.
I mean, if they could keep Desean and be like the Lions.
30. He'll be.
You have a good quarterback, but you don't win. So maybe, trade Desean, get 2 first-round picks and a serviceable quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, and rebuild. Because I don't see what the future optimism is for the Texans as currently constructed. But that's enough. Let's move on because we're already 30 minutes in. Is Kyle Shanahan a leader? Real quick.
I can start off. I think head coaches have to be leaders to be successful. So, that's literally his job description. I think he is a leader. It's easy to get on him right now because they're not playing well. But I think they have the potential to right the ship if they just start running the ball more. And then I think the narrative around Shanahan will change a little.
Yeah, I think he's a silent leader. As far as I'm gonna draw up this magical gameplay and it works, and now everybody believes in me. Everyone wants to play for me. He's a leader in that way. He's not a leader. He's not like a Pete. He's not nowhere near a Pete Carroll type of leader. But what he does is stays quiet, draws up this game plan. It works, and everybody loves him. So he's a leader. He's a silent leader.
He leads through the confidence that he invokes in others, basically.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think that's the best way to frame Kyle Shanahan as a leader. He's not as vocal and doesn't place such a emphasis, at least not in the media, of trying to bring everybody together. You know how you're touching on, Leo, but just with his play calling, everybody wants to play with him. He seemingly has great relationships with his players. His players seem to respect him. And of course, if you want to be a leader, you need to be respected of whatever it is that you're leading. So through that lens, yes, Kyle Shanahan is a leader, but maybe just not so much a leader that's in people's faces and on the forefront of everything.
I do not consider Kyle Shanahan a leader, and here's why. To me, he never holds himself accountable, ever. He never says, look, in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, that was on me. Like, don't blame my players. Yeah. It was on me. Or after any loss, he never says, my game plan stunk, or I don't know why I called that play. It's always, we didn't execute. And to me, that's not leadership. And that attitude is now across the entire team. Any person who's highly paid and thinks they're hot stuff says, I'm not doing bad, because that's what my coach says. If Kyle Shanahan, who's making $10 million a year, can go in front of the press after a loss and be like, yeah, it's not me, then why can't someone who makes more than him do the same? I mean, Trent Williams makes more money than him. So yeah, I think he's not. And I think his attitude is part of the problem that the Niners have right now. But what I will say is that, like Kittle, Shanahan has no background being a leader, and he's young as a coach. Maybe he's learning and he can get there. But right now, I think he has a leadership problem. I wouldn't write him off. He's 40, which is like, as a player, it means he's like basically 20. Yeah. He has a lot of growing to do. But right now, I mean, it's a lot of adversity, and the Niners haven't handled it well, and he's the leader. He should be. And again, one more point. A coach like him, who's not a natural leader and is young, comes in, depends heavily on a guy like Joe Staley. Heavily. I mean, Joe Staley essentially was the leader of the team. Same with Sherman. Now those guys are gone. Shanahan has to step up, because there's only so much a 24-year-old like Fred Warner can do. A 27-year-old like George Kittle can do. Shanahan has to step up until those guys get older. So I'm not saying he can't, but that's where the Niners are at right now. They're waiting for Kyle to take control. Speaking of Joe Staley, where does he rank among all-time great 49ers?
I think he's one of the best offensive linemen the team has ever had in the history of the franchise. He started more games than any other offensive lineman in the history of the franchise. If you look at his career path, just so many up and down seasons. Like, the team was either really good or really, really bad with Joe Staley holding it down at left tackle. He was a phenomenal draft pick. His level of play was so consistent from start to end, was named to the NFL All-Decade team from 2010 to 2019. He is one of the all-time greats, should have his jersey retired. I know that the 49ers are already running out of numbers to hand out because they've retired so many jerseys already. But that number 74 and his quality of play on the field, who he was in the locker room, just being able to be that pillar and hold everybody accountable, be a team captain year after year, even during the rough years with Chip Kelly and Jim Tomsula. Joe Staley was a leader from start to finish. He was an all-pro, second-team all-pro pretty much throughout his entire career, a Pro Bowler, all-time great 49er.
Yeah, he's definitely top 5 is kind of tough because this team is so legendary.
Of course.
And that's why you're so critical on them, and people don't understand. You have that standard.
The 40 freaking Niners.
Yeah, they're an elite franchise in the NFL. So he's top 10. And I think Nick hit it the head on the nail, is that he's probably the best offensive lineman that this team has ever had. And I know they don't want to retire any more numbers just because it's so thin, but look, there's not a 74 on the field now, and there's a reason for that. and his number will be retired one day.
Yep.
So I was born in 96, so I don't have a great basis of awesome 49er players besides what I've seen on YouTube. But I'd say he's definitely in the top
I'm muting
5.
you then. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going.
No, I'm just saying, I know the history. I know they're a great franchise, but in my lifetime, he has definitely been top 4, top 3 best and was a constant force along with Patrick Willis, Frank Gore, Navarro Bowman for a quick time. And I think Joe Staley easily top 3, top 4 of my lifetime.
Yeah, I think you could argue he might be number 1 of your lifetime. I mean, nothing against Frank Gore, but Joe Staley was a foundational member of 2 teams that went to the Super Bowl, not just 1. I would have to say that Joe Staley might be the top 49er of all time who doesn't have a ring. I could be missing someone, but
Frank
this
Gore,
dude was on.
Patrick Willis.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the team longer than those guys.
Yeah.
And he's still the leader of the 49ers. When we say who's the 49ers leader, it's Joe Staley.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Staley's the one calling all these players after the game and saying, this is what you got to say, George. George, this is what you got to George, you're the leader now. This is what you got to say on Monday. George talking about it. George says, God, I've never been a leader before. I call Joe all the time. Joe is that invested. You got to love him, man.
I've actually
what?
Go ahead.
No,
I was
go
going to say, I've actually met him just being out in downtown here in San Diego. And
he lives in Escondido, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I sat down with him for about 4 hours, had some beers, and we were talking unfiltered football. Best thing ever. He was like if he was my like how George Kittle is with you. That's how him and I were at that time.
I've never hung out with George Kittle and had beers. I'm definitely jealous. Wow.
Yeah. So he that was probably the most off the record conversation I've ever had. And
tell us everything he said right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so there was this. I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. No. Well, that's tight.
But,
hey, I'm
yeah.
not surprised. That's who Joe Staley
And
is. He's a normal guy.
I was gonna say how he treated me like that. He had no idea who I was until I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Joe?" He didn't walk away. He actually left because he was there for a bachelor party and came back and was like, "Oh, what's up, dude?"
That is so cool. I got a quick Joe Staley story real quick, and then we'll move on. Joe Staley is known to do stuff like that. Ever since he's been a player, if you go up to him at a restaurant and say, Joe, I love you. Could I have your autograph? He'll hook it up. The one thing he doesn't like that fans do is when they come up to you and say, Joe, let me buy that for you. Let me get your dinner for you. And he's like, dude, I'm making millions of dollars. You're working paycheck to paycheck. Stop worshiping me. I'm a normal person. Stop worshiping athletes. And I thought that really spoke highly of Joe.
Yeah.
You know, because some athletes expect that type of treatment. They'll go out places with their hands in their pockets like, well, time to get what I always get, not Joe. Mm-hmm. Joe's a good guy.
I actually, so when we were sitting and having drinks, and I was like, oh, I finished my beer. I was like, all right, I got this next round. You're drinking, what was it? I forgot it was a mixed drink. I was like, okay, so you're drinking that. Let me get the next one. He's like, dude, sit down.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's a great guy.
He was buying me drinks all night, so I just felt bad. Like, I know this guy's making millions, but I don't want to seem like if I'm leeching off of him. But hey, he offered, so.
That's a great story.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
Great story. All right. Why do the Rams currently have a better record than the 49ers? I mean, the Rams struggled against the Giants. I mean, really struggled against them, but also beat the Eagles. The Niners couldn't do that. So, Maverick, what is the main difference between these two teams right now?
Well, the Rams run the ball, whether it's working or not. And I know that's a novel concept to 2020 49er viewers, but that's something that got the 49ers to the Super Bowl last year. And that's something that is keeping the Rams neck and neck with the Seahawks this year in terms of record. Is they're running the ball. They're second in rush attempts despite 4.1 yards a carry. The 49ers are sixth in the NFL in yards per carry with, I think it's 5 exactly. And I think they're 16th or 17th in attempts. And just Shanahan has to get back to the run, and they can do. They don't have the star power, I would say, on defense that the Rams do with Bosa out, but they do have the capability to control the game with Raheem Mostert, George Kittle, and offensive linemen that have been okay in the run blocking department. They might not be great in the pass blocking area, but at least on off-tackle runs, they've been looking pretty good, and they can do that this weekend.
So can you repeat the question?
That was a great answer, by the way. The question is, why do the Rams have a better record than the Niners? I mean, no one expected the Rams to be better than the Niners. They may not be better than the Niners, but they're 4-1. And what Maverick said is, despite having a running game that's much less efficient than the Niners, they commit to running the ball. That's a great answer. What do you think, Leo? You need to have a better answer than Maverick. So you think
Yeah. So it's the commitment to running the ball as well. It does help as far as their schedule. They won games that the 49ers didn't win, like the Eagles. But it's the commitment to running the ball as well as having a guy like Aaron Donald just wreck anybody's offensive game plan. And then guess what? You have Ramsey in the back end, just locking down your best receiver. And also the scheme. They're using their best players in a position to succeed. Like Ramsey's now in the slot. He's outside. He's blitzing. The 49ers and Saleh, for whatever reason, they don't want to use that. And I bring that up because Tarvarius Moore is a guy who should be on the field. They're not using their best players, and that's what the Rams are doing, and that's why they have a better record.
Yep. I'm going to piggyback off of what Maverick said about their commitment to the run, and I'm going to give Jack Hammer a shout-out because I saw him tweet something today that when the Bills were beating the Rams 28-3, it was week 3, I believe it was, the Rams are down by 25 points in the second half, and they did not get away from the run. Imagine if the 49ers had that same approach against the Eagles and the Dolphins. So Jack Hammer's stat was they ran 34 plays in the second half when they were down by more than 3 touchdowns. They had like 16 run plays and 18 passes or something like that, almost a 50-50 split. They did not go away from their game plan. And
makes you admire Sean McVay, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
You know, they got rid of Todd Gurley, their high-paid running back this offseason. They stole the Kyle Shanahan running back by committee approach. They have Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, Malcolm Brown, all capable of doing different things on the football field. And
none of them great.
Working to their benefit.
All
none of them great, but all capable.
Wow.
Exactly. So it's just that's why I'm kind of surprised that Christian McCaffrey, who's great, and Alvin Kamara got those huge contracts, because it's like you see what happened with the Cowboys and Zeke when they gave him the huge contract. Like, you can find capable running backs that share the load and are just as productive as just one main guy. So
keep going.
No, I agree with Maverick that their commitment to the ground game is really why they're so successful, and their defense is able to stay fresh, and they already have a great defense with studs all over the field. So that's the difference between the Rams and the 49ers right now. Even despite the injuries, the 49ers can have a much better record than 2-3. I've been a huge advocate of this and been trying to nail this down all week, is that this team right now is not 2-3 solely because of injuries. It's been because of questionable game planning, on both sides of the ball, inconsistent quarterback play. The team could be 4-1 right now, and it's not because 13 guys are on IR that they're not. It's because there's just a lack of consistency with the head coach, with the defensive coordinator, and with the quarterback.
I think you guys, we've all said the same thing. I think we all agree. But I think you guys are all searching for a word that you haven't said yet. And I think this word is the main difference between the Rams and the Niners. The Rams have an identity. The Niners don't. The Rams have an identity. The identity is we run the ball. And a big reason that they were a down team last year, 9-7, is their run game didn't work. And they got away from it and had no identity. Now it's back. And it's not that they're a great running team. It's just that they're a running team. They know it. They stick to it. What the hell are the Niners? Are they a running team? I don't know. If they want to be, it seems like Shanahan wants to be a passing team. And they don't have the offensive line or the quarterback to pull that off. So until the 49ers decide what they want to be, they're not as good as the Rams. Because to me, it seems to be a good team in the NFL, you have to have an extremely strong identity. And again, when the Rams stick with the run down 25 in the second half, that tells you they believe in their identity. When the Niners abandon the run down 7 or 14 in the first half, that tells you they have no confidence in their identity. And I don't know why, because Mostert's on the field, Juszczyk's on the field, Kittle's there, they're all there, and they're averaging 5 yards a carry. So to me, it's an issue of identity. And we all agree. 2 more questions, both with the Rams. What do the Niners have to do to win this game? What is the key to victory? What's the one thing they have to do? And if they don't do it, they're screwed.
They have to control the time of possession battle and run the ball and have long, sustained drives. They have to have like 8-9 minute drives that eat up a huge chunk of the clock that result in touchdowns. And another key for me is that I want to see them score first. They went behind against the Eagles. They went behind from the Dolphins. They've been playing behind for the last couple weeks. Get the lead early. Run the clock, run the ball, run the clock. Keep Jared Goff and those skilled position players on the sidelines for as much as possible. Keep your defense fresh. If they do that, they have their best chance to win.
So I think we could all go here, run the ball to time of possession. That's the goal. But I'm going to switch up my answer for the sake of the viewers, and that's going to be get Jared Goff off the field on third down. That's going to be the money down. I said it yesterday. Whoever the slot corner, which I think it's going to be Jamar Taylor, maybe shade some coverage his way a bit, change it up as far as your coverages. I think you said it on sometime this week, Grant, as far as using like a cover 3 cloud, just switching up the coverages and get Goff off the field on third down. The 49ers are a top 2 and 3 team in pressure percentage, quarterback hit percentage, top 2 and 3 in those categories, but yet in sacks they're 18th. If you want to up those sacks, they only have 10 on the year. This is the week to do it because Jared Goff, frankly, isn't that athletic compared to all the other quarterbacks they saw, which Fitzpatrick, he's a sneaky athletic. He had 50 yards against Seattle the week before and 2 touchdowns in a row coming into that game.
I think the 49ers definitely have to pressure Goff, and they have to put the Rams out of their element. And this is another stat I have. Gerald Henderson has 20 first down rushes this season. Malcolm Brown has 16. All 5 49er running backs have a combined 19. So Darrell Henderson has rushed for more first downs than all 5 49er running backs have. And I know most are out a couple weeks, but the 49ers need to put the Rams on third and long, second and long. Otherwise, they'll get that 3-yard, 4-yard Malcolm Brown run and move the chains, and that's how they extend the possession. They need to get Goff, sack Goff. Kerry Hyder needs to get him. The Rams run a lot of reverses too. Don't run those reverses towards Kerry Hyder. I think teams are learning that. And I think they got to be prepared to push the Rams back, and they need to win first down every time.
Great answers. I think the Niners know they can run the ball on the Rams. I think the Niners know they have to run the ball, know they can run the ball. But it's not as simple as just run 30 times. There are certain things you have to do in a game to allow yourself to run 30 times. One of them is, don't you think, if you were the Rams defensive coordinator, wouldn't you come out with like 9 men in the box? The Rams expect the Niners to run the ball. So to actually have some success there, Jimmy's going to have to make a couple throws and keep the defense honest. That's obvious. But the other thing is the defense has to keep the Niners in the game. Like if they fall behind by 28 points, they need to stick with the run, but they can't be down. They can't give up 30 points in the first half. If the defense plays well enough, the Niners should be able to stick with the run and win the game. But if the defense totally falls apart, it doesn't really matter. So I think what's key here is the defense has to play like it played the first 4 games of the year. It has to be really good. It can't be mediocre. It can't be bad. It has to be really good because the Niners offense, I don't know how effective their passing game is going to be. They're gonna have to run the ball to win. It's going to be ugly. So the defense has to keep the Niners in the game and play really, really sound. No more miscommunications. No more guys lining up on the wrong side of the field or one guy playing man while the other plays zone. No. Everyone has to play really well. Kinlaw has to have a sack. Mosley has to play. The defense has to have their best game of the year, and I think they can because I'm not that impressed with the Rams offense. Like, it's well coordinated, but Goff's okay. Their O-line's okay. Their running backs are fine. Their wide receivers are good. It's not a super fast offense. I think the Niners defense matches up pretty well. But every time they face the Rams at home with McVay as the coach, they've given up like 35 points. So if that happens, they got no chance. They got to keep the Rams to like 20, 17. Okay, Now pick a winner.
We're going to do spread predictions.
Spread predictions. Yeah. Take it away, Nick.
All right. The Niners are 3.5 point underdogs, and the over-under set at 51.5. Grant, after I answer that, I got to hop off because I got another meeting to get to. So
this is it.
I'm taking the Niners getting the 3.5 points. I'm not going to give out a final score prediction. I'm going to say it's a relatively high scoring game. It goes over and the 49ers cover the 3.5 points.
All right.
And I'll catch you guys later on.
Great to see you, man.
There you go.
See ya.
Wow, this is nice. My head's like wigging there. So I'm going to say the Niners are going to win this game because I think they're going to get their identity back. That's what we've been talking about. Kyle Shanahan's going to feel the pressure to run the ball, so he will. And they will at success because when they're able to run the ball, guess what? Now you get Jimmy Garoppolo throwing play action. He's out of the pocket. He's not going to get those happy feet. And he could throw. He's pretty good on the run, throwing the ball. So that's what I have. As far as I have it a low-scoring game just because I think Rams like to keep a balanced offense. The 49ers are going to try to be more run-heavy than usual this season. So I see a final score being 23-20. 49ers edge them out.
I could see a possibility where the two quarterbacks combine for less than 42 throws. I think both teams are going to try and control the line, run the ball a lot. And as long as Shanahan runs the ball, I think they can win the game. I think they'll cover at least. I don't know if it will hit the over. I could see something similar to Leo. I'll go 24-18.
Ooh, 24-18. Niners win?
Yeah.
We all picking the Niners to win. I picking the Niners to win because I said all week I would. And I was going to pick them to win in a blowout just because I picked them to win the blowout the last two times and I want to keep being wrong. But they're not going to score 30, I don't think. I mean, what they can do is control the clock, make it an ugly game, and win a low-scoring game. And I think they will. I think they have so much more at stake than the Rams. I don't think the Rams are great. I think the Rams are very good. I think that defense is serious. If the Niners come out and try to pass to win this game, they're going to get embarrassed. Their pass defense is serious, but their run defense, it's vulnerable. I think there's a lot of urgency for the Niners to win this game. I mean, unless they want Jed York to walk out on them again. I mean, they know what's up. They know how he feels. I think they feel like, sure, they started 2-3, but if they win this game, they're right back in it, and the season's basically just begun. So I think at home, Sunday Night Football, if they start 0-4, dude, if they lose this game, they're going to finish the year like 4-12. It's going to be so bad because if they lose the game, they know the season's over, and I don't know what incentive they're like. How you know what I mean? Like it could just snowball really bad. So unless they don't care, unless they're cool with that happening, I think they're going to fight for their season and get back to 3-3 and make this season interesting because they're way too talented to go 3-13. They should not go from 13-3 to 3-13. They even with adversity and no Nick Bosa and a gimpy quarterback, find a way to win 9 games. Find a way. I think that would mean a lot. And I think that I don't know why I think the Niners can do it. I mean, given what I know about their owner, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, people working together right now. But maybe they'll work together in spite of him, just to prove him wrong. Maybe that'll be what they need.
So they're second in the NFL in pressure percentage.
Rams?
49ers.
Oh, nice.
It's just they haven't been able to contain the more versatile quarterbacks, such as
and that ain't Goff.
Wentz, and that's not Goff. So they have that in their favor. Even though they don't have Nick Bosa, they have been able to get to the quarterback. They just haven't finished. So hot take here: Javon Kinlaw gets his first sack of the season.
Nice. The only thing that they got to be prepared for is those constant bootlegs. Because if they keep booting Goff out of the pocket and the Niners don't have a way to keep him in there, Kinlaw ain't getting a sack, and the Niners aren't going to pressure him, and it's going to be a rough game.
Agreed.
So they know it's coming. They got to have an answer. And, I think they will. Robert Saleh, he's been getting a lot. He's been getting crushed this year. But, I think he's actually doing the best we could expect someone in his position to do, given what he's lost. And I still think he's a really smart coach who did his homework this offseason and has a plan to stop these bootlegs. So I think the Niners defense is going to look good. There's going to be no Brian Allen on the field. Mosley is a big game player. I mean, he gave up that catch in the Super Bowl, but remember his first start of his career, who'd he cover?
First start of his career.
Who'd he cover? Odell Beckham Jr. and did great.
That was
great.
Browns. That was off the
first
bye
start of
week.
his career.
Yep. Off the bye
So
week.
that's a big addition to this team.
Pass breakup in the end zone on that as well.
Yes. I mean, he's one of the most mentally tough players on the team, and he plays a position that the Niners are dreadful at. So him coming back is big. He's not officially back yet, but I think he's back.
That's why if he's back, he has to play in the slot, in my opinion. Because Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods both play in the slot a lot, and Josh Reynolds and Van Jefferson are no Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods.
I think coming off a 2-week MIA with a concussion, I think Verrett would be more liable to throw in that slot than if you lose Emmanuel Mosley, you're kind of screwed.
One or the other. It can't be. I'm sorry. I don't think it should be Jamar Taylor. I just don't. Because when Jamar Taylor does certain things well, I think he's probably a good zone defender at nickel, and he blitzes well. But we're going to need – the Niners are going to need to do some man-to-man coverage, and he just doesn't have a matchup advantage there athletically. He doesn't. Mosley might. Verrett might. So the Niners got to be smart there, especially going against a slot-centric offense. All right. I think that'll do it for us. Now we're in. What's up?
Yes, I will cut Brian Allen. Just read a comment there.
Cut him. Hey, if you see Joe Staley in San Diego, tell him we all miss him.
I will. Hopefully he can buy me another 5 rounds of beer.
Yeah. Tell him, invite me next time. And I want to be his friend.
Well, you already have George Kittle. Can you balance that out?
No.
Can you?
No, Kittle's he's my friend. You don't get All right, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
See you.